It is because I believe that nuclear power is essential in promoting progress in this world that I feel compelled to negate today's resolution. Resolved, countries ought to prohibit the production of nuclear power. For clarification of today's round, I offer the following counter definitions. Atomic energy or nuclear power. The energy that is released through a nuclear reaction or radioactive decay process. Source, United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Nuclear fission. A subdivision of a heavy atomic nucleus into two fragments of roughly equal mass. Source, Encyclopedia Britannica. Nuclear safety. Nuclear safety means the achievement of safe operating conditions, prevention of nuclear accidents, or mitigation of nuclear accident consequences. Source, National Nuclear Regulatory. The highest value within today's round is utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is defined as the view that the morally right action is the action that produces the most good. That is considered the good of others as well as one's own good. Source, Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, The History of Utilitarianism. The best criterion for evaluating this resolution is pragmatism. Pragmatism is defined as an approach to problems and situations that is based on a practical solution. Source, Cambridge Dictionary.
Contention 1. Environmental concerns. Our first contention lies on the basis that nuclear power is more environmentally sustainable and reliable than any other source of energy. During his TED Talk on how fear of nuclear power is hurting the environment, Michael Schellenberger, an environmental policy expert, shines light on the environmentally terrifying fact that fossil fuels are increasing faster than clean energy, and nuclear power is in absolute decline. Even both solar power and wind combined don't make up for half of the decrease in nuclear power. A primary issue in this is that wind and solar power are not the most reliable forms of energy. Nuclear power, on the other hand, is incredibly reliable. In an entire year, a nuclear power plant can provide continuous power about 92% of the time, reports Schellenberger. It's a pragmatic solution to a universal problem, and one that at the end of the day is going to produce the most good. What more could anybody ask for? Because of the universally high demand for electricity, supply needs to match demand instantly and reliably over time, worldnuclear.org claims. A primary positive feature, apart from it being dispatchable on demand, is that it contributes to low clean air and low CO2 objectives. In fact, Ernest Moniz, professor of physics and engineering systems and director of the Energy Initiative at MIT, states that nuclear power is the largest source of carbon-free electricity in the world. Sweden, the most environmentally sustainable country in the world, gets over a third of its energy from nuclear power. The president and CEO of the Nuclear Energy Institute, Martin Fertel, is incredibly concerned about countries closing down their nuclear power plants and the impacts it is likely to have. We're going to use more electricity down the road, Fertel says. We're going to have very stringent carbon requirements as time goes by, and we see nuclear energy as absolutely critical to helping our country, our economy, and our people. Losing current plants that are really good performers is just absurd. Unfortunately, a lot of people have misconceptions about nuclear power, which leads them to not wanting to use it, in spite of its ability to help them. Moreover, Moniz, the aforementioned MIT professor, explains that nuclear energy experienced a slight resurgence after the global climate crisis, but the movement lost momentum in March when a 9.0 magnitude earthquake and the massive tsunami it triggered devastated Japan's Fukushima nuclear power plant. He goes on to say that it would be a mistake to let Fukushima cause governments to abandon nuclear power and its benefits. While safety concerns must be taken into account when building power plants, Moniz nonetheless argues that they are important and necessary if we want clean and sustainable energy. There are not many options in the clean energy field. It would be wise not to use nuclear power in the face of its overwhelming advantages, especially since it would provide the most good to the largest number of people, and that above all else is a worthy goal. Simply put, for countries to prohibit the production of nuclear power would be immoral and a disservice to all people.
Our second contention is that in an ideal world, and debates concern the ideal, and under our criterion of pragmatism, every country should be allowed to decide for itself what kind of energy is best for it. By arbitrarily prohibiting countries from producing nuclear power, their choices, especially in the form of green energy, are being severely limited, and to the detriment of both the world and the people in it. In some countries, nuclear energy isn't necessary because there are other reliable forms of energy. Iceland, for example, uses its own volcanic energy, which powers lights in homes and restaurants, and provides the hot water that heats 95% of Iceland's homes. However, most countries don't have this easy access to a green energy source, and thus need as many alternate avenues open for energy decisions as possible. In democratic countries, such as the United States, to patently ban nuclear power would be a mockery of the very democracy on which the country was founded. The people should be allowed to decide for themselves whether or not nuclear power should be prohibited. Anything less displays blatant disregard for the democratic ideals and the opinions of the actual people who inhabit the planet. Every country has different needs, and the moral action which will do the most good for the most number of people will vary from place to place. Iran, for instance, has a limit of 130 tons of heavy water, a primary substance for producing nuclear power, so it might not be in their best interest to implement nuclear plants for power. However, China, which is now leading in the nuclear power movement, has multifarious reasons to invest in nuclear power, chief among which is to fundamentally correct the inappropriate distribution and composition of energy resources. China also has fairly abundant deposits of uranium, as well as experience in the design, construction, and operation of reactors. So nuclear is a pragmatic solution for their energy problems. It is even more so since they plan to supplement the existing inadequate supply of energy with the nuclear they would be producing. International Atomic Energy Association said this. No energy source comes without risks or problems. Nuclear may have some, even many, but it also has far too many benefits to be ignored. Nuclear power is too advantageous and promising for the future for countries to prohibit it. They must at least have the option available to them. Thank you, the Negativists.